Artists sometimes reinterpret an existing object to highlight issues and criticisms surrounding it. Let's take a trip with two artists' books that examine passports and what these powerful little booklets represent. Nansen's Pastport by Anneli Skaar and Errant Passport by Alan Sobrino. Originally from Norway, Anneli Skaar is an artist and designer based in Maine. Working across a variety of media, she often explores themes of environmental migration, extraction, and extinction. Skaar was inspired by explorer, humanitarian, and fellow Norwegian Fridtjof Nansen. Among his accomplishments, he led a groundbreaking expedition across Greenland's interior in the 1880s, when the Arctic was still relatively uncharted. After World War I, he dedicated himself to the League of Nations. One of his significant legacies is the Nansen Passport, an official passport for displaced refugees that was recognized by more than 50 countries. Produced with fine art publishers Two Ponds Press, Skaar created Nansen's Pastport to highlight our contemporary relationship with the Arctic and the plight of worldwide climate refugees. This deluxe edition of Nansen's Pastport includes a folio, a statement about the project, and Skaar's reimagined passport. This map, printed from a copperplate etching, offers an unusual perspective. The continents are centered around the North Pole, suggesting our global relationship with the Arctic. Skaar was inspired by the Carta Marina and other marine maps of the 1500s. Functioning less like navigational aids, these maps included monsters and myths, like a cultural map revealing what was known and feared at the time. Skaar's map features military, political, and extractive commercial interests that currently inundate the Arctic. These are the monsters of our time. We also see refugees in the water as the ice melts and rising sea levels displace people around the world. The materials throughout Nansen's Pastport are geographically and meaningfully connected to Skaar's concerns. The Passport book is bound in North Atlantic salmon skin, sourced from Iceland. Skaar brings this attention to materials inside the book as well. Modeled after U.S. passport design, the visa pages are cyanotype printed landscapes collaged from U.S. banknotes. She explained that the currency represents the deep financial interests and commodities entwined with climate change. In contrast to the landscapes in U.S. passports, which glorify the country, Skaar's landscapes are visions of the catastrophic events of climate change that we are already experiencing. These impacts, however, are felt unevenly around the world. The original Nansen passports issued by the League of Nations included stamps for renewal. Skaar has also affixed stamps to her reimagined passport. These, however, reflect the economic impact of climate migration and refugee issues. These stamps were cut directly out of paper money from countries predicted to be the most affected by sea level rise in the coming decades. Across the top are quotes from Nansen's lecture upon receiving the Nobel Peace Prize in 1922. A century later, they remain emphatically relevant to our contemporary world. The passport, case, and folio were bound by Amy Borezzo of Shelter Bookworks. The oversized folio in the deluxe edition is covered in bright orange nylon fabric used for life jackets. Inside is a removable copy of the Carta Borealis print and a replica of the Nobel Peace Prize. Cast from old boat parts, this weighty bronze medal has one distinct detail. It is partially melted away. This is a fitting symbol of the melting Arctic ice and the degradation caused by powerful financial and political interests, unconcerned with their disastrous impacts on the environment and humanity. Throughout the edition, we see this Arctic tern. Skaar highlights this bird because it makes the world's longest annual migration, traveling 80,000 kilometers back and forth between the poles. In the Pastport, Skaar pairs the Arctic tern with a subtle but impactful detail: United Status instead of United States. Our passports are tied to imposed geopolitical lines, but we all live on a single planet. Climate change does not respect borders. In our united status, we are in this together. Alan Sobrino is an artist and writer from Mexico. He publishes under the imprint Errant Press, which he co-founded with fellow Mexican Tania Chaidez Ibarra. Based in Los Angeles, Errant Press's mission is to free literature from the codex form and to propose new physical spaces that can be inhabited by stories. The books are typically written and visualized by Sobrino and brought to life with Chaidez Ibarra's indispensable teamwork. They also translate, support, and distribute selections from other Latin American book artists to amplify their voices and reach broader audiences. Sobrino describes Errant Passport as a conceptual essay about borders. This official, non-official document combines artists' books, performance, and in-depth resources with many layers of information and meaning. Sobrino originally intended to write a formal essay about borders, but his research led him to understand barriers in a broader sense and to ultimately reject them. He told me he decided to make a passport as official or genuine as borders. This masked character, walking with a bindle, is set inside a statement in Spanish. An English translation reads, "It does not recognize any nationality, flag, or ideology, but a single race willing to collaborate to build peace and autonomous development." Next, we find a request to all competent authorities to permit the holder of this passport free transit and provide all lawful aid and protection. This QR code takes us to a copy of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly, it details basic rights and fundamental freedoms that are inalienable and applicable to all human beings, regardless of nationality or borders. When someone buys an Errant Passport, they become part of an interactive performance of sorts. While completing a brief form, they are welcomed to identify as they wish. Some people invent identities, or even draw instead of write in the form. Sobrino and Chaidez Ibarra welcome this. When Cynthia, our collection's founder, and Catherine, our associate director, purchased the Errant Passport at Printed Matter's LA Art Book Fair, they created the passport for our Sherry Grover Gallery. By choosing a physical space, Catherine and Cynthia wanted to push the boundaries of who or what could be a passport holder. No matter what identity someone registers the passport for, everyone has the same place of birth. Errant Press prints a photo on a portable printer, customizes the passport, and asks the reader to sign. Finally, they hand them the newly issued Errant Passport and congratulate them on their new non-citizenship. I asked Sobrino if they keep track of who has registered an Errant Passport. He explained to me that while they have the total number of passports issued, keeping any other information would be against the nature of the passport itself. The signed declaration, in English and Spanish, gets to the heart of Sobrino's convictions about borders and global humanity. All borders are imaginary lines inscribed by fear. The bearer of this passport knows no nationality, flag, or ideology, only a single human race dedicated to a common goal of peace and self-sufficiency. Designed in collaboration with Mexico City studio Plan Scusi, Errant Passport has 16 pages for visas. These pages feature QR codes, and here Sobrino offers us more, a lot more. Each link takes us to a complete resource about borders, highlighting specific arguments and ideas about barriers. These are some of Sobrino's favorite resources. He makes them available so the reader can be further informed and engage in knowledgeable debates on this topic. The links take us to films such as Luc Mouillet's 1983 film Bars, about bypassing fare barriers in the Paris metro. There are nonfiction books about specific borders, like Border Spaces, visualizing the US-Mexico frontera, as well as arguments against borders, like Open Borders, the Science and Ethics of Immigration. Also fiction books like Italo Calvino's Invisible Cities and Solaris by Stanislaw Lem, and visual art, such as Hundertwasser by Harry Rand. Offering this wealth of resources suggests an appeal to the free transit of information in addition to the movement of people that a passport traditionally represents. Errant Passport encourages the reader to dig deep into the roles different barriers play in forming individual and global identities, and how we interact as a single humanity across invisible lines. As Sobrino explained to me, it is a manifestation of love, opposite to borders. Passports are inherently connected to international boundaries and identities, distinguishing us as individuals within national borders. Nansen's Pastport and Errant Passport playfully and elegantly reinterpret this document, highlighting the importance of crossing barriers to come together united.